How's everybody doing?
Okay.
All right? Yeah, cool. My name is Chad. I love video games, and for as long as I can remember, I wanted to make a video game. And never had the skill set to do it, never had the ability, but always had the desire. And one day during class, a few weeks ago, I was thinking about React, which is a framework that we all learn. It's a JavaScript library. And React is actually the library that Facebook has written. And it's meant to be graphical and responsive. And I thought that's kind of describes a video game, instantly responsive to inputs. And I was also thinking about Bootstrap, which is a way of laying out web pages. And Bootstrap is laid out in a grid, and it reminded me of a game that I loved years and years and years ago. It was called B.R.I.D.G.E. It was this very simple role-playing game in the 90s. It was you had an image up here, an image up here, and then text sort of showing what was going on. And I thought, I can do that. So I decided for my final project to build a fantasy role-playing game modeled after the retro 90s games that I loved. So I call it B.R.I.D.G.E, Buildable Retro-Inspired Digital Game Engine, and I call it that because it is not a full game. There are 30 rooms that you can explore. By contrast, the original Legend of Zelda, which by modern standards is an extremely small game, is an 8x12 grid with 9 dungeons of about 20 rooms apiece. So you're looking at about 300 rooms for a game that is, by modern standards, extremely small. So this is only 30 rooms, but what I want to show you isn't the game itself, it's the engine that I built to make the game. So in this case, what I built was a fantasy role-playing game, but it can be anything. All the data comes out of the database, and you can make the database models anything you want. You can make it cowboys, you can make it aliens, whatever. But in this case, I went with goblins and elves and stuff because that appeals to me. All right, so let's get into it. When you first start, there's a registration form, your name, email address. We'll see how that works. So I will go ahead and get started. And in this case, this account does not have a character, so I'm going to show you the character creation really quickly. There's a menu right here, and right now we've only got the create character in the account available. So we're going to create a character. I'm going to give him a name, and then each character has a pool of available points right here, and then you just distribute those points to your attributes. Again, if any of you have played any video games, you've seen this before, you know how this works. And then you choose your class. Now this is what I was talking about. So this menu here comes from the database. This is a job model that's built in the database. You can expand that. Right now I've only got 2 for demo purposes, but you can make as many of these as you want. And each model has categories on it. So when you choose warrior, for example, your character gets extra health, but doesn't get any magic. And there are, on each character, probably 20 different fields. And when you choose that character, it automatically applies those to the character that you've chosen. So you can make as many models as you want. You can make firefighter, you can make whatever you want, and give them the options. So in this case, we're going to make this guy a magician. And we're going to save the character. And we're going to get going. Now, when you first start, there's, of course, the mandatory tutorial. Again, those of you who play games, you know how this works. And this shows you the controls. It shows you how to get around. So I will show you this really quickly. So you saw Patrick in the last demonstration. There's Patrick again. So this is when you first start, you go into the shop. You can buy new gear. Again, pretty standard for role-playing games. But again, this was fun to implement because this is attached to the character model. So all of this comes from the database, comes from the character model. It can be updated, modified. In this case, I'm going to buy us some torches. Of course, I use the torches instead of buying them. Let's buy them instead. All right. So you can see that I use the torch. When you use the torch, it activates an effect. And when you have an effect in play, it pops up in here. I played by hand already because I'm going to go in a dungeon with no light, where if I put a torch all of a sudden you would see the rooms. And it would have been great, but then, you know, live demos, that's the fun of live theater. All right, so I'm going to walk out. All of the artwork, by the way, was done by me. I'm a hobbyist photographer, so I took photos of the points at bridge out off of 11, which is about the most medieval medieval looking thing I can think of. That was not points at bridge. I stole it off the internet and then put the fangs in the blood on it. So I'm going to go ahead. Now, my character is a magician and not a warrior, so we have access to the spells and the magic. If it were a non-magic using character, those would not be there. So I'm just going to go ahead and cast a spell. And again, this drop-down comes directly from the database. These options are, there's an array that has all of the available spells, and it filters those based on your character's level, your character's class. So that was fun. That was fun to figure out. I really enjoyed that. All right, so we're going to cast Force Bolt, and we're going to try to kill this rat. And I'll do it one more time. All right, and the characters are randomly generated as you walk. I've only got 3 for the purposes of demos, but basically you walk, it runs through a random selection, and if it hits a certain number, it brings up a monster. And let me look at something. Look at that. So this is Twitter. I have it set up right now to tweet out a few different game events. In this case, our guy Demo Day we just created has defeated the giant rat. The Twitter it's a Python script, and you can set it up to react to any in-game events. In this case, I've got it set up to react with defeating up the monster, going up a level, or being killed. If the game were actually deployed, those Twitter events would probably be far more select, like going up to a significant level or defeating a significant monster. But this is just for demonstration purposes. And I did that because I thought it would be a lot of fun to sort of bring the vintage role-playing games into the modern world a little bit, and just sort of show people that the game is active, there are things going on. All right, so let's go back to this. And this is the would have been dark, and I would have hit the torch, and it would have lit up, and it would have been great. The lighting effect is on a timer. You've got about 3 minutes every time you activate it, so in a couple minutes it will go away. If you are a warrior class, you don't have magic, you have to light a torch. If you don't have a torch and you do have magic, you can cast a light spell, and that'll work. So that's how the game plays. You walk around, you fight, you get treasure, you get experience points, you build your character up, and that's sort of the point and the fun of role-playing games. But let me show you what the game is actually about for me and the reason I like it. You can delete your character if you want. All right, so this time I'm going, and I should point out while I'm on the screen, it is fully mobile. There's the mobile interface, and if I log in, let's see if this actually works. All right. So I'm going to log in as a builder now, and so that is the mobile interface. And so when you see the full screen interface, I modeled that after like the retro, like 90s video games. That's why it has like the stonework and the bezeled edges and everything. The mobile interface is much lighter, much sort of cleaner. That's what it looks like on your phone. It doesn't have all the fancy artwork around it. It does still have the photographs and the monsters and everything. It's fully playable. All right, so I logged in this time as an admin. And that gives me this right here, this option right here. It's called Builder. And for me, this is the actual fun of this project. With the Builder tab, I can make anything. I can make rooms, monsters, weapons, spells. I can build all of it. And what's interesting to me, and it's not like any other game I've ever played, is that you can do all of that in the game. Most games that I've played before where you can build, where you can add to the game. You have to go into a database, you have to go into some other interface, and then you can build content. In this case, you can do it entirely inside the game, and that kind of makes the builder a character in the game. So let me show you what I mean by that. So let's say, all right, so let's say I'm in a room and I want to build a new room. I can bring up the builder screen, I can go to the room builder, and you can see now I've got access to everything that's in this room. And so let's say I want to make a room to the west. So I made a command called dig, and I'm going to hit west, and I'm going to hit dig. Room added, and now you can see exit added, and now you can see now there's another exit available. And so I'm going to go in there, and now we are in a completely, oh hey, I get the opportunity to do this. Yeah. Although there won't be any artwork, so so, again, sorry to be anti-climactic. So the fun of this is, this was incredibly challenging to figure out. So at the root level of building a game is you have to figure out how to define everything. And what got me started with this, other than thinking about React, is I started thinking about how do you define a room, how do you define movement, and how do you do that on a website. And so this was a challenge for me. This was a lot of fun. So in making a room, I had to make a function that, number one, figured out where your player is. Number two, where the room should be. So when I hit dig west, the function, number one, creates a room to the west, and you have to define what the rooms of the west is. It creates that room, it goes over to that room, it digs an exit back into the room that you're already in, and then it creates an exit from the room you're in over to the room you just created. And so even though it's a really simple command, there is a ton going on in the background. And that took a lot of time to figure out, but ultimately it was a lot of fun. And so now, to me as the builder, this game is really exciting because I can walk around inside the game, I can make that, I can change that, I can build this, I can build this world around me while I'm in it. And so I started off to build like a retro role-playing game, but what I accidentally built was like God, the role-playing game. And it's fun. It's fun to just to build things from inside. There was a lot to figure out, there were a lot of challenges, but now that I've got it, now that I've got the framework, it can be 50 rooms, can be 1,000 rooms. I can get lots of people involved building it, and it can be a real room. It can be a real game. I'm excited about the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to developing it and see what I can actually build with it. Does anybody have any questions?
So when you're building a new room, are you pulling from a database?
Yes, so the rooms, monsters, weapons, those are all in the database. And so a room, like if you see the file, a room is basically just an object. And it's got a bunch of key value pairs. And the main characteristic of a room is the exits. So what defines a room is how you get out of it, basically, at least in this game. So you've got north, south, east, west, up, and down. You've got a description. You've got a couple of other things. For example, is it lit or is it dark? Those are flags that you turn on and off. Is it dangerous? Is it safe? Meaning if it's dangerous, monsters can attack you. If it's safe, then that function doesn't trigger.
So you can have a room, make a room to go to another room.
Yes, as a matter of fact, let me show you something really quickly. Thank you for reminding me. This will take just a second. I apologize.
Don't believe it.
Oops. All right, so I made this account. This guy's name is Dude, so nothing good is going to happen to him.
Beautiful photos.
Thank you. Yeah, most of this is taken at Here we go. Oh, and you can see when you get attacked, the room turns red. Let's see. There we go, lit a torch, getting attacked by a rat again. All right, so I'm gonna fight, and with any luck, he will kill me. Here we go. All right, so I've been killed, and this should take me to death. And so this is kind of the fun of the game. For a character, or for a player of the game, this is a horrible outcome. This is, your character's been killed, it's death. But as the builder, I know that death is just a room. It's, if you're interested, it's room number 30. And I know that this exit takes me to, if I hit north to get out of death, it takes me back to the beginning. And the way it works is that exit is invisible when you're in this room. So as the builder, I know that death is just a room that's right here on the map. And but to the player, it's this distant, horrible, ethereal realm. But no, it's room number 30. It's right there. But yeah. So to answer your question, in a room, I can define the exits as any number that I want. So I can build a room over here. I can build a room way the hell on the other side of the kingdom, and I can make exit A go to room B way over there, and it's basically like teleporting. What I don't have yet, and I think I know how to do it, and I'm looking forward to doing it, is an auto map feature, whereas the player walks through, it builds a map that they can reference. I think I know how to do it. But yeah, I'll show you one more thing really quickly, and this will just take a second. I apologize. Let's see. I'm going to log back into the admin.
Nope.
Nope. Doesn't like the passwords. So if you're a builder, and the builder, by the way, is it's a flag that's on the character model. So nobody else has access to it except me, and then any other future builders that I have. So I built this little option down here. You can put in commands by text, and it just reads. It understands JavaScript. So I built several commands that are for the developers, for the builders to be able to move through the game and to develop rooms and monsters and stuff. So, for example, let's say I want to go back to death and develop it a little bit. I made this command called go to, and you can go to room number 30.
Nice.
And it should take just, there you go. So I can do that. I can go to literally any room that I build. If the game ends up being 100,000 rooms, I can go to any of them and touch the button. And there are several little commands built in that I built to help me build the game. So you can summon monsters, weapons you can bring into the game. Again, that was just the fun of sort of figuring it out, like the Matrix moment, realizing that you can see the code. Now what can we do with the code? That was the fun of it. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, that's my game. Yeah, does anybody have any questions?